Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday, November 18th, the Wednesday of the 33rd week in Ordinary Time of our liturgical calendar. During this month of November, a group of about 15 parishioners have been meeting both in online and in-person groups to discuss the book My Life with the Saints by Father Jim Martin. And it's been a treat to share about the lives of each saint and to learn about their own journey of faith. And what we have found is that one of the major takeaways is the realization of just how human these men and women are. They're very much like you and like I am. One of my favorite quotes from the book is by Thomas Merton. He says this: "For me to be a saint means to be myself. For me to be a saint means to be myself." Today I'd like to share about two people, one person, an official saint in the church, and another is someone in my own life who tried to live a life of holiness. And November 18th is a date that they share in common. One died on this date in 1852, and the other was born on this day in 1935. One is Saint Rose Philippine Duchesne, whose feast day we celebrate today. And the other is my dad, Trish Scalese, who is celebrating his birthday today in heaven. If he were still alive, he would be 85 years old today. In the gospel from today's readings, we hear about a servant who stores away in a handkerchief the gold coin that his master gave to him. And he tells his master that he stored it away because of fear. Now, this passage is similar to the scripture we heard on this past Sunday. And there are many interpretations of this particular scripture passage, but what I want to focus on is just this one aspect of hiding away or storing away what we've been given because of fear. A few months ago, I did an entire video on St. Rose Philippine Duchesne, so I'm not going to repeat all that, but I would like to highlight some parts of her life, specifically how she did not hide what she was given or hide away from what she was called to do and to be because of fear. She said this: "We cultivate a very small field for Christ, but we love it, knowing that God does not require great achievements, but a heart that holds back nothing." I really love this quote because it speaks about a heart wide open and generous in offering ourselves in whatever corner of the world we find ourselves in. Unlike St. Rose, who was born in France, my dad was born here in the United States to Italian immigrant parents. He had 3 older siblings who had been born in Italy, and they made the harrowing trip across the Atlantic to the United States. My grandfather had come here in the early 1920s trying to get things established before bringing over the entire family. And at the age of 35, my grandmother, or as we called her, Nani, left everything she knew and made that trip in 1934 alone with 3 children to watch over during that long boat ride. In a similar way, St. Rose Philippine, at the age of 49, made a similar boat ride to form a new mission here in the United States. She was a member of the Society of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and she came to the United States, went to Missouri, and found the first convent and the first school for that religious order. When I think about these 2 women, right, from very different times and circumstances, and thinking about them making that voyage, I'm amazed by their courage. St. Rose just had this heart wide open in service of God. And my Nani had her heart wide open to what the possibilities could be for her growing family in the United States. And I'm sure that they both had a whole lot of fear embarking on that trip. But they didn't shy away from it. They went anyway, even in the face of the fear. St. Rose offers these words: preach by example of your lives rather than by words. Example is the very best sermon. I think of my dad when I hear these words because he was not a big talker, but he taught us a great deal by his actions. He had these 3 H's that he liked to live by: hard work, honesty, and humility. Those 3 things were very important to him, and throughout his life, he led by example for us. No one worked harder than he did. He always had several jobs trying to support and raise his 6 kids, and it was not easy. In his small field for Christ, as we think about that one quote from St. Rose, he worked so hard that he was able to put us all through Catholic school, to keep us in a safe home, and even take us to special trips down the shore. We grew up in Pennsylvania, and going to the shore was always like, we're going down the shore. And those were special trips. And I'm sure that there were many nights that he and my mom were worried about having enough money to cover the bills. And yet that fear didn't paralyze them. They kept going. Similarly, St. Rose kept her heart wide open, and at the age of 72, she moved to Kansas and began working among the Native American people, something she had always dreamed of doing. And at age 72, she was willing to start all over in a completely new setting and new culture in order to be with the Native American people. And she became a wisdom figure to them, and the name that they gave her in their language meant the woman who prays always. Sadly, my dad was not given the gift of many years. He died at the age of 57 after a tough battle with cancer, and I remember how difficult it was for him to ask for the help he needed when he was no longer able to care for himself. And that idea of humility that had always been so important to him, he now had to live every day. And in those final days, I saw an openness to his faith that he never really expressed before. It's like he had discovered this new understanding of Jesus. And when I would take Eucharist to him, I know that it brought him a lot of comfort. And even in the midst of his suffering, his heart was still open to God. So these 2 saints, St. Rose and my dad, Ross, what can they teach us today? I think that more than ever during these tremendously difficult times, we need saints, whether they be the official kind or those that we have known and loved in our own lives. And I think that each one of us, we're needed to be saints for others because our world needs us. And I know you might say, no, I'm not meant to be a saint. I'm not that good. I can't do that. But remember what St. Rose said. We cultivate a very small field for Christ, but we love it, knowing that God does not require great achievements, but a heart that holds back nothing. Maybe that can be our prayer today, that in what ways are we being called to offer our open hearts, holding back nothing? In your corner of the world, how is God calling you to live in a way that brings healing and peace and generosity where it is needed most? May we have the courage to respond wholeheartedly. holding back nothing. So I continue to pray for each of you and for all those you love. Please stay safe. And until we see each other again, I wish you a deep, deep sense of hope.